we light our chalice to open our reflection today. And as we light this flame, we hear words from an ancient Jewish source. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve all in the spirit of freedom. Welcome. Welcome to this, our 10th Midweek Reflection from the Seven Oaks Unitarian Meeting House at this time of the COVID-19 lockdown. We meet virtually, taking time to stop, to turn our reflection inward, to connect to each other and to our deeper selves. Whether you've been here for 10 weeks, whether you've just stopped by for the first time, or whether you've been in and out as the weeks have gone on, you are very, very welcome here today. I'd like to read an extract from a piece I heard on the radio a couple of years ago. It was a talk by Kriss Akabusi. Many of you may remember him as a winning Olympian athlete. But since then, he's developed as a motivational speaker on a wide variety of topics for different groups, for different companies. And he was speaking on the radio on the topic of what makes us human. And these were his words. There are few questions as powerful as what makes us human. But ultimately, what makes us human is the ability to even cogitate on that question. We might be reminded of Descartes' "I think, therefore I am." But to me, being human is more than that. We think both on our own and in relationship to others, because being part of society is what makes us human. Just imagine if there were no other people in this world. Would I speak a language? Would I even know I could speak? With nobody to reflect back our discourse, we don't have that realization. I am born alone and I die alone, but in the space in between, I meet others and I interact with them. And that interaction is what makes me human. Those relationships with all the others who have ever been and who ever will be. When animals act on instinct, perhaps to protect their young, they respond fiercely without consideration. However, as a human, I can stop and I can think before acting. I think about the situation in relation to all I've seen, all that I've heard, all that I know, all that's been passed down to me, and I can respond accordingly. And that knowledge, which has been passed on from everyone else, is vitally important. So to me, it's our relationship with others and the impressions they leave that are key to making us human. Words of Kriss Akabusi. We are living in strange times. In recent months, we'd almost forgotten the political differences and frustrations that have been the lifeblood of national discourse for the last 3 or 4 years. We'd calmed a little. We'd started to pull together. There were still issues that annoyed, frustrations that emerged, but the underlying theme was one of closer union of each and every one of us. The all in it together doesn't really stand up when looked at the disparate impact of COVID-19 on different communities, but there was a sense nonetheless of the possibility of something new, something better to emerge. Now this week, of course, has been dominated by the stories, one story in particular, of how perceived political and establishment hierarchies can provide opportunities for some that are unavailable for others. In this case, it's not entirely political. The shared sense of solidarity and anger across the pages of both The Guardian and the Daily Mail suggests this is a much deeper frustration, born on the backs of those who have suffered, are continuing to suffer, and face concerns for the foreseeable future. People are angry. Now, anger has an interesting history in religious traditions. I'd like to look a little at the moment around the Buddhist teachings here. Now, Lama Surya, a leading Buddhist teacher in the Tibetan tradition, has written on the need to recognise anger within us. Anger is considered one of the worst poisons in the Buddhist cycle of becoming. Yet, he says, anger is easily misunderstood. It is often misunderstood in our Buddhist practice, causing us to suppress it and make ourselves more ill, uneasy, off balance. I think it's worth thinking about this. Learning to understand the causal chain of anger's arising, as well as the undesirable, destructive outflows of anger and its malicious cousin hatred, can help strengthen our will to intelligently control it. Moreover, recognizing the positive sides of anger, such as its pointed ability to perceive what is wrong in situations, including injustice and unfairness, helps moderate our blind reactivity to it and generate constructive responses. As the Dalai Lama says, violence is old-fashioned. Anger doesn't get you anywhere. If you calm your mind and be patient, you will be a wonderful example to those around you. Now that's a very hard lesson to take, but perhaps one we can all learn from. In particular, those final lines about recognising the positive sides of anger, using our innate human ability to perceive what is wrong in situations, including injustice and unfairness, helping us to recognise as humans in society how we might respond constructively to situations. Taking this back to Kriss Akabusi's point, when animals act on instinct, perhaps to protect their young, they respond fiercely, without consideration. However, as a human, I can stop and think before acting. I think about the situation in relation to all that I've seen, all that I've heard, all that I know, all that's been passed down to me, and I can respond accordingly. We are human. We speak as humans. We act as humans. We recognise, I hope, that being part of society and how we act within it is an indication of our humanity. Anger is a poison, yet it is one that can drive constructive responses. Letters, protests, action, steps to something greater. Society always proves its humanity when it works to provide love and compassion and protection to all. Let us come together now in a time of quiet a time of stillness. As we relax our bodies, focusing on our breath, perhaps closing our eyes, I shall speak some words, strike the singing bowl, and then we shall come together in stillness and quiet together. The stillness will be broken with music to continue our reflections. As we relax our bodies, becoming aware of our surroundings, feeling our connection to the place we sit and its connection to the wider world. We are part of a wider human society. Our emotions are natural. Our responses, however, might be determined by our learning, our understanding of society, our need to work as one. As we settle our bodies. We remember the thresholds we stand on today, wondering, hoping, fearing, dreaming.